All right, so my name is Wesahana Pearson, recording from Black Asia Magazine. And this afternoon, it's late at night for me, and it's early morning for you. You're in Hawaii, I'm in Taiwan. And first, let's get this interview started for the site. Can you tell us your name?
My name is Brittany Edwards.
Okay, and thank you for that. Brittany, can you tell us where did you grow up? And tell me, I guess over the past couple of months, where's the most recent place that you've lived?
So I grew up in Queens, New York, but then I moved to Florida for some time. And then I guess over the past few months, I've been living in Taiwan, Florida, and Hawaii.
Okay. May I ask what brought you to Hawaii? Was it just vacation or?
Honestly, I can't tell you. It was just I had this feeling that Hawaii was maybe the place that I needed to be in. It's very similar to Taiwan and kind of the lifestyle that I was living there. So I just felt like it would be a little bit more of a better transition back to the US.
Okay. And which part of Hawaii are you in right now?
I am on the island of Hawaii. So the
Okay.
islands have different names than the island that I'm on.
Big Island. Okay, I'm a little bit familiar with that. So you probably know that a lot of Americans feel comfortable in their comfort zone, just living in their state, in their city, and but it is increasing that Americans travel. So for you specifically in particular, what was it that made you decide to leave home in the first place and become a traveler?
Right. So I was transitioning from my job and looking at where I would go next. I was looking at Boston. And when I saw the cost of housing, I said,
Right.
absolutely. And then I decided that I would just do a teaching in China program. And then it ended up that I was actually selected for a program to teach English in Taiwan. And so that was kind of the impetus for my move.
Was that your first time living abroad?
Yes. I had traveled abroad before for slightly extended periods of times, about 3 weeks, but it's my first time fully moving abroad and living there for a year.
Okay. All right. Now, you said that you grew up in Queens, and you told me a little bit earlier, specifically Cambria Heights. Can you try and give us a picture of what it was like, where you grew up, at the time you grew up, and some of the things that you experienced growing up?
Sure. So New York was kind of the center of my entire family. We're from Jamaica, so it was very cultural having Jamaican ancestry there, and the food and the family and the friends and the music and fun and all of those things. So, um, to say the least, that was very different from life in Taiwan, and also very different from my life in Florida because while I grew up in New York, I only lived there until I was about 8. So part of my upbringing was also Florida, and that was also a big culture shock going from New York, Jamaica family to not so much melanin and Florida, less culture.
Florida. Okay. May I ask which part of Florida are you familiar with?
I was in Port St. Lucie.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. That's good. Okay. And so up to now, now you're in Hawaii. You've been a few different places in the U.S. and you most recently lived in Taiwan. What other places have you traveled to in the past?
Wow. Jamaica, obviously. When I was living in Taiwan, I did a little tour around Vietnam, the Philippines, Cambodia, and Thailand. Um, Before that, I had gone to some European countries, so Croatia, Italy, Greece, England. And I actually visited my best friend that's living in Japan while I was over in Taiwan as well.
Okay. Um, so out of the places you've seen so far, which place would you say was your favorite?
Taiwan by
Taiwan.
far. Yes, it's so underrated.
I think so. I would agree with you. When you got here, did you experience any kind of culture shock? How you were in Taiwan for exactly how long?
Exactly, it was about 11 months.
Okay,
So
better part of a year. Did you experience culture shock when you first got
I would say yes, but not in the way that I think we usually think of culture shock. It was so I've studied Chinese for a long time, and I was living in China for 3 weeks at one point. So I was kind of familiar with Asian culture, but it was a lot different living there for extended period of time in a rural community. There were so many more eyes on me as a
here?
Black
Yeah.
person because something that they don't experience. They just can't conceptualize or understand our existence. So that was a culture shock. And then also that kind of shock of living in a parallel universe where Black skin kind of gives you privileges sometimes was really shocking to experience,
Like
in
for
comparison.
example, what kinds of privileges?
Um, so there is um a Laoban that makes this special goat soup or mutton soup, and he has a Netflix documentary. And so one day I just went down there. He's in Jai, and I went down there to just see if I can get in. I couldn't make a reservation because I don't think my Mandarin is set up that efficiently. So
Okay.
it was just so weird because I didn't have any reservation, and they just found a private room. They turned on the AC. They gave me all this special treatment of when he was announcing to everyone that they were going to open up the cooking chamber. He's like, oh, there's this guest from America. Come to the front, come be first. And it's just really interesting, like all of the free things that you get or special treatment that really not used to having in the US.
Okay. Can I ask you? You're in Hawaii now. Did you go there just with you, or did you go there with a group of people or friends?
Just me?
I see. Okay. All right. Okay. Do you miss Taiwan?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
There are also some things about it that I don't miss. So it was really interesting because at the time I was leaving, there was a little bit of not wanting to leave, but also being a little bit glad to leave.
Why were you conflicted that way?
Um, it was just really, really frustrating to have that exoticism of my skin and the staring and the photo taking and the questioning. It just kind of gets old and a little bit draining because I also had this kind of experience of feeling the need to respond to everyone with the same level of enthusiasm
Curiosity.
and like patience because I feared that if they had a negative interaction with me, that would define the way that they perceive all Black people, which unfortunately is the reality of, you know. So that
Okay.
was draining to have to respond to everyone positively all the time.
Okay. All right. Okay. So that maybe was a little bit draining for you after some time, after a while.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Okay. Okay. Moving a little bit forward. Thank you for sharing those insights with me. Um, the work that you have done and are doing. I think I came across some work you've done online, and it's blogging. First, I think when you were in Taiwan, I think you were an English teacher. Can
I
you? Okay, can you tell me what that was like?
Wow. That was really interesting because the culture in Taiwan was so different from anything that I had been exposed to before. Um, and so by that I mean my teaching philosophy is heavily rooted in social emotional learning, and there were a lot of um, deprecating communication and lack of mutual respect between the teacher and the students because in traditionally in Taiwanese classrooms, um, a sign of control
Hmm.
is teachers yelling at students and having control over the classroom instead of having a more a relationship that's more founded on respect for each other.
Yeah, I know
And
exactly
so,
what you mean being a teacher, but yes, thank you.
yeah, that was really difficult to see because I'm also a little bit of a psychology junkie. So there are all these negative effects of that they just don't realize are happening by their small behaviors that are norms in their society.
Okay, so the way the classroom dynamic, you think it's not really conducive to learning, or
Exactly.
yeah, or it could be better. It could like there are different methods. I know exactly what you mean. There, if it was structured differently, it would be more conducive to learning. It would be a lot more positive, a lot more of a healthier environment.
Exactly. And it's like they're instilling childhood traumas that they just don't realize, but that will affect these children for the rest of their lives and that they will carry with them for the rest of their lives. And so it's just really unhealthy.
Okay. Um, in so you were in Changhua. What other parts of Taiwan did you become familiar with?
When you say become familiar with, do you mean spend extended time there? Okay, to be fair, I lived in Taichung for the first month that I
Okay.
lived in Taiwan.
All right. And so, like, I mean, I mean, have some experience with the city. You know, you were around. You maybe stayed there a few different times, or were you primarily in Shanghai, or did you branch out to the other parts of Taiwan?
Taichung is kind of the only other place that I would consider home. So Taichung and Changhua. But then besides that, I did obviously do some traveling around the country.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, a
Okay.
lot, a lot of the counties.
And so that question leads me into this question I want to ask you. The society in Taiwan, it at least superficially looks very high functioning. But then you and I are both teachers, and we taught here for some time, and we see these like, okay, the way that they're educating the children, their development as children, it seems like it's going to lead to what you said, problems in later life, problems in adulthood. But it
Right.
seems like that when people get to be adults, what am I grasping at? The way the children are raised should cause them serious problems in adulthood, but at the same time, society seems like it's high functioning. And do you know what I'm talking about? How would you account for that contrast?
I think it's because of the rearing or lessons that they learn in school is rooted in how to suppress what you think, what you feel. And
Mm,
so society is high functioning because they've learned how to hide their
true thoughts, true feelings, true emotions.
yes
Right.
and their downfalls or inability to perform at the level that they're expected to. So, for example, they've realized the adverse effects of not meeting expectations. And so, as a result, they strive to meet expectations all the time. And that's what keeps the society high functioning.
Coherent. Yeah. Okay. It just my own thoughts. Like, where would that lead to? Do you think that that's sustainable? Can this continue for a long time, or does that have to at some point come to a head and be like this is not working?
I think it's a little bit difficult to maybe extrapolate on that for the concepts of um, traumatic upbringings or trauma experiences
Mm-hmm.
are easy to maintain. So, for example, the like a society of fear is easier to maintain,
Mm-hmm.
um, and when behaviors become habitual, it's really hard to break them. And then also because it's prevalent and rather consistent throughout the entirety of the society, um, it makes it a little bit harder for the constituents to realize that alternate possibilities exist. So if something happens where part of the society, or gradually the society becomes more attuned to um, what's happening, then it's likely that the society will not sustain itself over time. But if there's nothing to impede that culture or nothing to show an alternate possibility, then I think it's very easy for that system to maintain itself.
Okay. Okay, interesting. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I just wanted to know what you thought about that. Moving a little bit forward, you also blog, or you also have another project that you're involved with? If you, as much as you want to go into that, please share.
So I write a lot, and the blog that I developed while I was living in Taiwan was sort of in stylistically a diary, but also short story chronicling my time living there. And it was really interesting because it was the first time that I ever started blogging or started writing in a public sphere. And it was just really refreshing to see all of the responses flooding in from people about how my blog has introduced them to a layer of my existence that they couldn't realize as a white American living in Taiwan. So many parts of my experiences, or so many parts that other Black people teaching abroad can relate to, that makes our experience feel a little bit less alone, I guess you could say. So it was really nice to see that just something simple that I was doing had that type of impact on people. And so now I've kind of tried to continue sharing my writings a little bit more, my reflections on different societies and ways that we think. So the blog sphere lifestyle is new to me, but it's definitely one that I think is worth it for me to apply myself to, because a lot of people seem to be touched by the words I write.
Okay. You don't have to, but are you going to share with our audience the name, or it's up to you, but name or how I can access this online?
Sure. So I've actually recently started posting on Medium. So I traditionally, or I should say the first time, I posted my blog on just a Wix site. And so now I'm reposting all of my 11 months in Taiwan on Medium. So you can find me easily at medium.com/Brittany P. Edwards. So BrittanyPedwards.
Okay. All right. Good. Thank you very much for sharing that. I'll check that out. And yeah, I'm sure I saw on the Facebook page you got some very positive responses. There are a lot of different people from different walks of life who really appreciate your perspective. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, moving forward a little bit. In Taiwan, living here as a Black woman, what are some of the other jobs or fields or things that you saw other Black people involved in this country?
A lot of them were teaching. A lot.
Mostly teaching English.
There was one woman that I met, and she was working with the U.S. military in some type of form. I'm not sure exactly what her position was, so don't quote me when I say U.S. military, but it was definitely a U.S. government-related, non-teaching position that she was doing. But besides that,
mostly teachers
or advisors teaching English.
Okay. Can you tell me one thing that you really loved or enjoyed, or something that you very much miss about living in Taiwan?
Wow.
Maybe top three.
Okay. One thing that I really, really loved was the walkability of it. But so when I say walkability, you think, okay, you can find walkability in a city in the US, but there's something about walkability in an area that's not as...
It's easy to get from place to place walking as opposed to bike or MRT or bus. Is that what you say?
Um, sure. Like just the accessibility, but also um, in relation to its rawness. So any place can pop up anywhere. It's kind of like a lawless society in some ways, where you have shops that have posted store hours, but they're not necessarily always open, or you can run into just this place that you didn't know exists. They're just like a lot of nooks and crannies. And so that type of walkability paired with possibility to discover, I found really, really alluring. Because so in the US, everything's on Google Maps, but so there's no sense of discovery or adventure, but that's everywhere in Taiwan, you know, where you turn around the corner or you heard about this place. Um, that's something that I really, really love. How can I not talk about how affordable everything is?
Okay.
Oh my gosh, just your groceries, the markets, the farmers. I just, yeah, absolutely love, adore, and miss Taiwan's prices. Um, but then also, besides that, is people, because they're just so hospitable, they're so giving, they're so friendly. Um, oh, I lied. This was a really, 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 really big thing that I admired about Taiwan and miss living, transitioning back to America, is that everlasting feeling of safety. The
Okay.
city is so safe. You don't have to worry about anything, what time of night you're going out, if you're going alone, or anywhere you go. Like, people just don't have malicious intentions towards you. And it's just so refreshing and so bizarre to live in a society like that when you're so used to living in America.
Right. Where you do have to be a lot more careful and just mindful of your surroundings.
Exactly.
Okay. Um, Plans for the future. Now you're in Hawaii. Where to next, and any projects, anything that you'd like to share with us?
So the only projects that I'm really working on now are writing more. I'm trying to post more to Medium about my uh, reflections, but also experiences. I am, for the future, looking towards grad school. So I'm right now trying to pursue a PhD in linguistics,
Okay.
into physics.
Okay.
So that's kind of what I've been spending a lot of time on the past week or so that I've been here, is all of my applications, because there are a lot of applications, a lot of papers to write, a lot of research to do. So that's what I'm looking forward towards my immediate future.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for everything that you told us so far.
You're
Okay.
welcome.
Or anything else? Just thoughts, feelings, comments. Bye bye.
Um,
And tell us again your blog one more time. Brittany, BrittanyEdwards. What's it?
that's it. It's just,
Medium dash forward slash in your name.
yes, that is it.
Okay. All right. Brittany Edwards, thank you very much. Black Asian Magazine. Enjoy your morning.
Thank you. Enjoy your night.
Bye. All right.